Nepal. Nepal, known as the land of Everest. Nepal is a land of sublime scenery, one of the world's best and archaeologically very important temples, and some of the best walking trails on the earth. Although the GDP, gross domestic product, of the land of Buddha is very low, but it is rich in scenic splendor and cultural treasures. The country has long exerted a pull on the Western imagination, and it's a difficult place to dislodge from your memory once you visit Nepal and return. This is why so many travelers are forced to visit Nepal again and again, with a greater appreciation of its natural and cultural complexity. A stout fear of walking boots and a desire for improved leg definition. Kathmandu Darbari Square. Welcome to the Kathmandu Darbari Square. During the early medieval period, Kathmandu is known as Kantipur, city of lights or beautiful city. This 9-storied palace building, famous by the name Basantapur Darbar, is constructed in 1771 by Prithvinarayan Shah. The king who were living on the existing palace complex are the losers, so he constructed new palace building for himself. The white portion of the palace building was constructed nearly 100 years ago by one of the Rana Prime Minister with the influence of the European architecture. This is the permanent residence of the living goddess Kumari. Besides Kumari, this courtyard is very famous for the wooden works. During the festivals, Kumari is driven on the chariot. We can see even the part of the chariot. This place is known as Kastamanda, constructed in 12th century. From the name of this building, Kathmandu name is derived. It is believed that Kastamanda is made by using the wood of a single tree. The Kavindra pool actually serving as like a royal theatre was constructed in 17th century. This is the temple of Ganesh, originally from 19th century, and normally this temple receives visitors early in the morning. This impressive temple is dedicated to Vishnu, constructed in late 17th century. Mazudega, also famous by the name Hippie Temple, is a temple of Shiva. This is the biggest bell of Nepal. It weighs more than 2,000 kilograms. The octagonal temple of Kathmandu Darbari Square, dedicated to Krishna. Statue of Pratapalla, one of the famous Malla king of Kathmandu Valley. Temple dedicated to Vishnu, famous for its erotic carvings. This is the entrance door to the palace complex up to 1896. which nowadays houses a museum. This impressive temple, dedicated to Shiva, is a unique temple. This is the tallest temple of Nepal, dedicated to Taleju, a royal patronage of Kathmandu Valley. This temple opens for the visitor only once a year. One of the oldest temples of the square, but seems new because when they are renovating, they were using marble, an invention of latter days. This is the image of black fire, originally constructed in 6th century, but from 6th century to 16th century, it was on the top of the small hills of Kathmandu. In 16th century, one of the Malla kings had transferred this to him. Patan Darbar Square. Welcome to Patan Darbar Square. The ancient name of this city is Lalitpur. That means a beautiful city. The overlook of the central palace square of Patan, created in its present form in the 16th and 17th century, the period of Lalitpur's greatest prosperity. This is the octagonal temple of Patan Darbar Square. Normally, when the kings were going out, they had put this temple always towards their right. This is one of the 10 incarnations of Vishnu in the form of a lion killing the demon king. This unique image of Ganesh is observed in few places of Kathmandu. This is the Mol Chowk, where they do animal sacrifice. Our entrance to the temple of Taleju, a patronage of the valley, and 2 images of Ganga and Jamuna. Even this temple contains the erotic carvings. This courtyard is very famous for its wooden works. This one is the temple dedicated to Shiva and also famous for its wood carvings. The magnificent Krishna temple, constructed in 1637, is completely made from stone. This is the unique piece with 21 pinnacles. One of the oldest temples dedicated to Vishnu and is famous for its erotic carvings on the roof struts. The golden window of royal palace of Patan, which was used by the kings and queens to look after their public. This is the Vimsen temple, especially famous among the business people. The main palace complex, which is nowadays a museum. This is the part of Royal Garden, and we have a beautiful restaurant here today. Kumbheshwar is one of the most spectacular temples of Nepal. The main temple of Kumbheshwar was constructed in 1392, but almost reconstructed after a great earthquake that had occurred in 1934. Inside it contains the phallic representation of Lord Shiva. The two-storied wooden rest house over the entrance doorway was one time used by Kapali Yogi, god guardians of temple. This is the single-story temple of goddess Bagalamukhi. During Thursdays, this temple receives a huge number of visitors. And a statue of Harihar, an interesting syncretic god, made up half of Shiva and half of Vishnu. Mahabodha or Thousand Buddha Temple is the Buddhist shrine in the Shikhara form and contains the image of tiny Buddha in every bricks. This famous Buddhist shrine is Kwabahal or the Golden Temple. It's a golden in color and a great monastery. This was founded in the reign of Vasudeva between 1045 and 1048 AD. This Buddhist shrine is very famous for the presence of a special copy of the holy Mahayana Buddhist text, Pragya Paramita, the perfection of wisdom. The main deity here is the Sakyamuni Buddha, touching the earth to witness his attainment of enlightenment. The temple in the middle of the courtyard encloses an enshrined Chaitya called Swayambhu Chaitya. The chapel of Namasangiti is also a unique figure. Bhaktapur Darbari Square. Welcome to Bhaktapur, the land of devotees. These are the 4 small temples, which are the replica of the famous Hindu shrine located in northern India. With the Shikhara architecture, Kedarnath, with the image of the Garuda, Dwaraka, from the stone, the Rameshwar, and another one is Jagannath. This is the extension of the palace complex from 16th century, which is nowadays a secondary school. This one is the palace complex from 16th century, which is nowadays an art gallery. This is the Golden Gate, constructed by Ranajit Malla, and is the entrance to the intact palace complex of 15th century. These are the places for the lamps in the past times. This is the royal bath from late 17th century, where the kings were having bath. The water fountain here is much decorated because this is the royal bath. A window, originally made from the sandalwood, but when it got renovated, the material has changed. The 55-windowed palace is the first palace building of Nepal with the glass in the window. The king at that time were importing glass from Patna, a city located in the northern part of India. The temple is a masterpiece of a Shikhara style of architecture. It's the temple dedicated to Vatsala, who is nearest to Lord Shiva. The temple, dedicated to Shiva, and is constructed in early 15th century, but renovated later. This temple is also very famous for its erotic carvings. The octagonal temple here in Bhaktapur to represent the 8 signs of good luck. This small Shikara-style temple dedicated to Siddhi Lakshmi, constructed in early 16th century. This is the building which houses workers in the past time, nowadays changed into a government primary school. The second and most famous square of the Bhaktapur, which is called Taumadi Square. Here we have one of the 5-story temple dedicated to Siddhi Lakshmi. In the Kathmandu Valley, there are just 3 5-roofed temples. Among them, only 2 are accessible for the foreigners. Besides the 5-roofed Nathapal temple, this one is the temple dedicated to Bhairav. Most of the temples in the pagoda architecture are squares, but this one is the rectangular because this is the temple dedicated to Bhairav. Animal sacrifice is common in this temple. The third square of the Bhaktapur is the Dattatreya Square and is very famous for the wooden works. All the surrounding houses of the Dattatreya temple also contains a very famous woodworks. This is the unique temple with the unique architecture and dedicated to Hindu triad, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. This place is very famous for the different types of windows from wood. One of the typical window of Bhaktapur is the peacock window, which was supposed to be used only by top rankers in the government services in the past time. This is the temple dedicated to Vishnu and originally constructed in 10th century. Every year during the harvesting season, festival is celebrated here. And the 4 different images of Garuda can be observed here. Pasupatinath Temple. Welcome to the Pasupati area. Pasupatinath Temple, located on the bank of Holy River Bagmati, is a great pilgrimage site for the Hindu people around the globe. From the very early stage, Pasupatinath was a tutelary deity of almost all the rulers of the Kathmandu Valley. The history of the Pasupatinath is traced up to 2nd century BC. After the temple had been destroyed several times by acts of nature, the temple acquired its present form in 1697. The temple of Vasuki, the king of Nagas, is a temple dedicated to Serpent King Vasuki, and which is constructed by Malla king called Pratap Malla. These are the 15 Shivalaya erected between 1859 and 1869. Each of them contain phallic representation of Lord Shiva. During the festivals, the religious people, they sit inside, meditate, facing towards the main temple. This representation of Lord Shiva, one-faced Shiva Linga, is supposed to be made in 5th century. This is the temple of Vatsaleshwari, a consort of Lord Shiva. These 5 temples are dedicated to the group of gods which the normal Hindu family have to worship them every day at their home. Beside the temple, Pashupatinath area is also very famous for doing cremation. Just nearby the temple, there are two special cremation platforms. One nearest to the temple is reserved for the king and royal family. There are two inclined stones to do the ritual before cremating the dead body. Normally, the Hindu family, they put the dead body on these inclined stones, dipping the feet of the dead body in the holy water of Bagmati river to release the soul from the dead body and to wash all the sins which he or she has committed in his her life unknowingly. According to Hindu philosophy, our body is composed of different materials which we have to return back to the earth. If we don't do so, we will have a rebirth. So most of the Hindu people, they cremate the dead body and throw the relics on the river. Swayambhunath. Welcome to the Swayambhunath. And you are heartily welcome to the largest and the best preserved Buddhist monument of the Kathmandu Valley. Besides the tongue-twisting Swayambhunath, the place is also famous by the name Monkey Temple. Here is a small image of the standing Buddha, a new decoration to the site for the old piece. This small building, Shantipur, named after Shantikar Acharya, a great monk of Vajrayana sect of Buddhism, is the center for followers of Vajrayana. Inside it contains the image of Kakasya and Ulukasya, the vehicles of Vajrayogini. This statue of the Buddha was made on stone. Normally they had made this type of image in situ. This is the main stupa of Swayambhu. The foundation of the stupa originally laid in 4th century. But the stupa has been restored and modified on innumerable occasions. Like other architecture of the stupa, this stupa also contains a dome-shaped structure. Over the dome, there is a harmika with the painted eyes of Buddha in all 4 directions. Over the harmika, 13 gilt rings represent the 13 level of perfection, and the parasol symbolizes the Buddha as universal monarch. 5 transcendent Buddhas, each of whom occupied a chapel around the base of the dome. Each chapel is a miniature gilded temple in itself. This 2-tiered Newari pagoda is dedicated to goddess called Harati. She protects against epidemic diseases and particularly against smallpox. 2 white Sikara temples are Pratapur and Anantapur, each dedicated to an esoteric Vajrayana deity. The great gilt metal Vajra, the thunderbolt symbol of sacred power, rests on a Dharmadhatu mandala. This monastery, founded in 1954, is to accommodate a community of monks belonging to the Tibetan Kagyupa school. This one is the last image of Sakyamuni. To its left is the Karmapa Rinpoche. and right is a Padmasambha. The museum that houses the stone sculptures of Buddhist deities and few Buddhist adaptations of Hindu themes. Bodhanath. Welcome to the Bodhanath area. Bodhanath is one of the famous stupa in South Asia. The stupa is also famous by the name Kashti Chaitya. It stands on an enormous plinth composed of 3 board terraces with the complex pattern of interlocking squares and rectangles. Like other stupa, this stupa also contains a huge dome. Over the dome, here is the metal gilded harmika, containing the all-seeing eyes of the Buddha. And they are even using the third eye as Buddha being enlightened. Below the eyes of the Buddha, there is a question mark. Over the harmika, there are 13 squares representing 13 spiritual layers of perfection. Finally, on the top, umbrella-like parasol, signifying everyone who follows the Buddhism are safe under this umbrella. Besides the famous structure here, some small icons representing different god and goddess from Buddhism. This holy shrine for Buddhist people is always decorated with the 5 different colors of flag, representing 5 different Dhyani Buddhas. Each flag containing the mantra or the sacred words of respective Buddha. Besides 145 feet high stupa, the surrounding area is like a small Tibetan community. World-renowned artists are busy here on producing paintings. Pokhara, which is located nearly 200 kilometers away from Kathmandu, is a resort city of remarkable beauty. The serenity of Phewa Lake and the magnificent summit of Machapuchri rising behind it create an ambience of peace and magic. Clearly, the most stunning of Pokhara's sights is the spectacular panorama of Annapurna Range, which form its backdrop. The most popular sites here in Pokhara are the Phewa Lake, Begnas Lake, Rupa Lake, Devi's Fall, Mahendra Gufa or Cave, Annapurna Mountain Museum, and some other temples. Paragliding. Paragliding is a relatively new adventure sport in Nepal. Paragliding in this Himalayan country can be a truly wonderful and fulfilling experience for the adventure seekers. you can experience unparalleled scenic grandeur as you share airspace with Himalayan griffin vultures, eagles, kites, while floating over villages, monasteries, temples, lakes, and jungles, with a fantastic view of the majestic Himalayas. National Park. Located on the southern part of the country, Chitwan National Park, with the area of 932 square kilometers, is the most popular safari destination. More than 43 species of animals are found in Chitwan. The one-horned rhino, Royal Bengal tiger, Gharial crocodile, four-horned antelope are the main attractions. Chitwan Park is closer than others from Kathmandu and is easily reachable, just 165 kilometers overland. And Bharatpur Airport is close to the park. It is only 25-minute flights away from Kathmandu. There are other adventures also to choose to go down by rafting. However you go, wildlife safari is a memorable experience you will have for a long time. Nagarkot, located nearly 32 kilometers away from Kathmandu. Nagarkot is an ancient village east of Kathmandu, and from here we can see Mount Everest and other peaks of the Himalayas. The top of the Nagarkot commands exhilarating views in all directions, and the altitude of Nagarkot is nearly 2,200 meters from the sea level. Mountain flight. The most enchanting flight to Mount Everest, along with many other magnificent mountains, has given many mountain lovers of the world to touch their wildest dreams from the untouched Himalayan heights of Nepal. The flights last for about an hour, early in the morning, and you will witness beauties of Himalaya, including 8 world's highest mountain peaks out of 14 from a very close range. Your visit to Nepal simply cannot be considered complete until you see the ever-melting beauty of the celestial Himalayas on board a mountain flight. This flight, also known as an Everest flight, because you are able to see the Everest from here.